The narrative they always get wrong every year. Without fail, traditional tennis media reaches for the same tired script the moment the tour makes its brutal transition from the lightning-fast hard courts of North America to the punishing crushed red brick of the European clay swing. The establishment wants you to believe it. The great equalizer. The sacred surface, where explosive young prodigies get exposed, humbled, and systematically dismantled by gritty defensive veterans who have spent their entire lives grinding on the dirt. But every once in a generation, a player arrives who doesn't just adapt to clay. They weaponize it, and in doing so, shatter every archaic expectation the old guard ever held. Welcome back to CRT Pro, the unfiltered, unapologetic source for the real business, locker room psychology, and elite biomechanics, driving the WTA Tour. Today, we are not previewing a standard first-round match. We are documenting a paradigm shift. We are talking about the 35th anniversary of the Upper Austria Ladies Linz Open and the explosive opening round collision between 20-year-old Filipina superstar Alexandra Eala and 29-year-old Austrian hometown veteran Julia Grabher. To mark this anniversary, tournament organizers did something genuinely extraordinary. They ripped out the traditional indoor hard courts, hauled 100 tons of crushed red clay into the city's design center, and constructed a temporary 3,000-seat gladiator arena in the middle of Linz. And stepping onto that freshly laid dirt is an athlete who is quite literally engineered to dominate it. We're going to break down the tactical advantages Eala carries onto this court, the psychological warfare of a hostile Austrian crowd, and exactly why Julia Grabher is about to become the first casualty in Eala's European conquest. Buckle up. The momentum she's carrying the traditional narrative around highly touted young prodigies is predictable. They string together one or two brilliant performances, generate enormous hype, then collapse under the relentless pressure of the professional tour. Eala has dismantled that narrative completely. She walked into the Miami Open, one of the most grueling, talent-dense tournaments on the planet outside the 4 Grand Slams, and delivered a run to the round of 16 that announced her arrival to anyone still paying attention. She did not merely survive the draw. She bullied established veterans off the baseline and broke into the top 50 for the first time in her career. She belongs at this level. That much is settled. But here is the detail that should terrify the rest of the WTA locker room. The hard courts of North America are not even her most dangerous surface. By crossing the Atlantic onto European clay, Eala is returning to her athletic sanctuary. Since her early teenage years, she has trained, ground, and developed her game at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, biomechanically shaped on red clay by the most brilliant coaching minds the surface has ever produced. She understands the grueling arts of clay court tennis at a level that rivals players a decade older. Clay is not simply about sliding. It is a physical chess match requiring a completely different geometric understanding of the court. Heavy topspin to push opponents beyond the baseline. Cardiovascular endurance to survive 20-shot wars. Elite footwork to convert desperate defensive positions into instant offense. Eala's left-handed forehand is a weapon specifically designed for the surface. When that forehand generates its full rotation, a direct product of the Nadal Academy's engineering, and the ball strikes the crushed brick of Linz center court, it does not bounce cleanly. It explodes upward, violently disrupting an opponent's strike zone before they can reset. She arrives in Austria off a career-best hard-court swing, armed with a top 50 ranking, a proven winner's mentality, and her preferred surface beneath her feet. For anyone standing across the net, that combination is an unmitigated disaster. Respect the opponent standing in her way is Julia Grabher, and the psychological complexity she brings to this matchup demands respect. Grabher is no pushover. A 29-year-old battle-tested veteran who has clawed her way to a career-high ranking of 54 in the world, she arrives here with something no ranking fully captures: home advantage. She is Austrian. She is playing in her literal backyard. And the tournament organizers constructed this temporary center court in the middle of Linz specifically to pack it with screaming, partisan local fans desperate to will their hometown hero to an upset. Playing against a home favorite in a confined indoor arena is a suffocating experience. Every unforced error you make is met with deafening, mocking applause. Every winner the crowd's player hits is treated like a championship point. The walls close in. The noise becomes a weapon. The crowd, as a weapon, the Austrian crowd, is not just background noise. It is a deliberate tactical element, a wall of partisan energy specifically designed to disrupt the rhythm of visiting players, amplify every error, and manufacture pressure that has nothing to do with the score. Grabher will lean on that wave heavily. She is a gritty, defensive-minded clay court specialist who understands exactly how to suffer on the dirt and keep herself in points long enough for the environment to do its damage. She knows with cold clarity that she cannot overpower Eala in a straight baseline firefight. So her entire game plan will center on extending rallies, feeding high-looping balls that kill pace, absorbing punishment, and trusting that the deafening Linz crowd can drag the young Filipina into uncharacteristic errors. It is a legitimate strategy. Against most 20-year-olds, it works. But raw talent and elite biomechanical execution have a way of silencing hostile arenas, and this is precisely where Grabher's plan unravels. The tactical breakdown on paper, Grabher's greatest asset is her ability to grind, to force opponents into hitting one extra ball, then one more, until the mistake arrives. The problem is she is about to face a player operating at an entirely different level of baseline artillery. Eala does not simply hit the tennis ball. She punishes it with intent. On clay, you cannot block her heavy left-handed ground strokes back to the center of the court and survive. The topspin alone will pin Grabher 3 to 4 meters behind the baseline, stretching her side to side just to stay alive in the rally. That is a fatal geometric disadvantage. Playing that deep surrenders all offensive angles, and the moment Grabher drops a ball short inside the service line, Eala will step in and execute her with flat, laser-accurate winners down the line. This is not going to be a drawn-out grind. It is going to be a clinical dismantling. The Austrian crowd will start loud, hostile, and fully invested. But within the first 5 or 6 games, Eala's suffocating baseline dominance will drain the oxygen from that building. The silence that follows, the moment the crowd collectively realizes their hometown hero is being systematically outclassed, will be its own kind of deafening. What is actually at stake this match is not just a first-round hurdle. It is a statement. Eala enters this tournament seeded 6th in a loaded 28-player draw. She is no longer a feel-good story. She is no longer the teenager simply grateful to be in the main draw. She is a legitimate threat to lift the trophy, and she knows it. Because lurking in the second round is former French Open champion Elena Ostapenko. Volatile, explosive, dangerous on any surface. You do not get the opportunity to face a Grand Slam champion of that caliber without first disposing of veterans like Grabher efficiently and convincingly. The stakes are that simple. A deep run in Linz, immediately following her Miami breakout, would permanently cement Eala's status in the upper tier of the global rankings. It would confirm what her merchandise numbers and her Miami performance already suggested, that she is an all-surface threat capable of dominating anywhere on the planet. She is not going to let a 29-year-old veteran and a partisan Austrian crowd derail that. The prediction: she steps onto that temporary clay court in the Linz Design Center. She ignores the noise. She trusts the training. Years of Nadal Academy conditioning embedded in every footstep, every swing, every tactical decision under pressure. And she delivers. We are calling it clearly and without hesitation, a straight sets, dominant victory for Alexandra Eala. She dictates terms from the opening point. She physically removes Grabher from the baseline. She neutralizes the crowd by making the contest one-sided before it ever gets psychological. And then she walks into a blockbuster second-round showdown with Elena Ostapenko. The era of waiting for Eala's potential to arrive is over. The era of execution has begun, and Julia Grabher has the unfortunate distinction of being the first casualty of the 2026 European clay swing. Over to you. Does Grabher's home court advantage give her a genuine chance to rattle the young Filipina superstar? Or is Eala about to deliver exactly the kind of ruthless baseline masterclass we are predicting? And if she gets through, does she have the firepower and tactical maturity to go toe-to-toe with a former Grand Slam champion in the next round? Drop your predictions in the comments. Smash the like button to push this breakdown through the algorithm. Subscribe to Court Pro and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the real, unfiltered business of the WTA Tour. The European clay season has officially begun. The stakes have never been higher. We will be right here to document every single moment. See you in the next one.